Now, we have seen how time and time again, the Democratic Party basically shows us that they suffer from delusions of grandeur, right? As I put in another video, they make their own Kool-Aid. They pour like this much sugar in it. They drink it and they're like, of course, we make the best Kool-Aid on the block. You ain't never tried our Kool-Aid? They call it purple flavor instead of grape flavor. You know what I'm talking about. You can't make your own Kool-Aid and then drink it unless your friends. See, that's the problem though. Some of their friends even tell them, but of course they're in the Democratic Party, that what they are saying is true. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's look at Kamala Harris, for example. Kamala Harris really believed that she was a front runner. Now, why does she believe she was a front runner? Well, because the Democratic Party kept telling her, Kamala, you're the front runner. The Democratic Party polls that they manipulate to reflect what they believe also told her she was a front runner. You don't got to worry about Bernie. We're going to tell him he's racist and then he's sexist and then he's xenophobe and we're going to say he's old and people are just going to not like him. So it's cool. Just, you're the front runner. Guess what Kamala woke up to on Tuesday morning as I hereforth call Bernie Sanders Day? She woke up to 1 million donations in 3 hours. She woke up to 6 million donations in 24 hours. She woke up to 1 million volunteers in less than a week committed. That is the dangers of sipping your own Kool-Aid. It disallows you to prepare for the reality you're going to be forced to accept. And because of that, you are not going to be able to pivot or create a plan to counteract that reality that you're going to have to deal with. Bernie Sanders, for example, knew that he was going to be dealing with hell. I don't think he knew quite how much, but he did know he was going to be dealing with hell, when it came to running against Hillary Clinton. He knew. But he knew even more that he would be dealing with a different type of hell coming into this particular race. So what did he do? He prepared. He pivoted. See, Kamala had been being told that she was going to be the front runner for the last 2 years. That's what they told her. That's what her Twitter engagements that she completely invented out of nowhere. They've been telling her that. So Kamala Harris didn't start an our revolution, for example. Kamala Harris didn't work to elect other, or more unknown candidates and elevate them to a level of damn near celebrity status. She didn't prepare for this. That is why we know for a fact that when they say stuff like this, they're full of it. But they don't even know it. Once again, they've been drinking their own Kool-Aid. The Democratic Party seems to be, look, bug flying across my face, man. Look, it's always summer in Miami, so. But the Democratic Party has basically convinced themselves that AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is not going to endorse Bernie Sanders. I don't know where they got that from. But this story by The Independent, now the Democratic Party plants stories. They have their own reporters. You all know how that story goes. I shouldn't have to tell you this, but in case you're new to politics, that's kind of how politics works. They end up planting their own stories. In this particular story by The Independent, this is how the article starts out. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has refused to endorse Bernie Sanders for the 2020 Democratic nomination, despite working on the senator's first presidential campaign. They left out a lot of other things there. They did. They really did. Some shabby reporting. They go on to say a spokesperson, so not even AOC, but a spokesperson for Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez, like Mr. Bernie Sanders, a self-described Democratic socialist, refused to comment directly on the 77-year-old's Tuesday announcement where he is running for president for the second time. He goes on to say, the spokesperson, "We're excited to see so many progressives in the race. All 2 of them. Oh, no, 4. I guess we can count Yang and Marianne Williamson as well. So we're excited to see so many progressives in the race," spokesperson Corbin Trent said. "We're not thinking at all about next election." That's exactly what he's supposed to say. 100%. If you've ever been a spokesperson, that is his job to say that so that she doesn't have to deal with it. Because her job is to get whatever legislation she's been pushing, that she's been working with, passed. She cannot lose any momentum on that, considering that her momentum, as far as the Democrats are concerned, the establishment ones, it's fragile, okay? If she pisses the wrong person off or pisses two or three many Democrats off, legislation may not get passed. It may not even get out of committee. You get what I'm saying? So that's what he's supposed to say. But it says, any endorsement by Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez is likely to be influential on the outcome of the race, thanks to her massive support amongst the grassroots of the party. But the 29-year-old Congresswoman for New York is unlikely to offer an endorsement before her state's Democratic primary next year. Based off of what? And even may permanently hold any explicit support for a single candidate based off of what? You know what? We're going to read the next article. You hear that? What in that article so far that I read drew that conclusion? Where did that come from? That's why the Democrat, they pull stuff out of thin air. They pull. They're like mimes. They can pull strings out of thin air, apparently, and invent conclusions based off of literally nothing. Well, let's look at this article in the New York Times because they're always so accurate. And this is from Lisa Laurer from Get On Politics. Hi, welcome to On Politics. Welcome to On Politics, your guide to the day in national politics. I'm Lisa Laurer. I don't know how to say her name. It's her fault for having a hard name. So she says, do you remember the old days of the Democratic Party? Universal health care was controversial. Boasting about taxing the rich was political suicide, and socialism was a dirty word. Actually, it still kind of is, but let's go ahead and continue. It was a different time. It was 3 years ago. In 2016, Bernie Sanders started a quote-unquote revolution. That's what she said, not me. As he liked to say, no, that's what it was, testing the bounds of what liberal Democrats believe could win national support as he embarks on his second presidential bid, though the question for voters is whether or not he's still a guy who can take the lead. What? Yeah, they're trying to assert here that Bernie Sanders is not the person who can lead the revolution, other than the fact that he literally created our revolution, and Nina is the one who was in charge of it. He chose Nina to do all that. And once again, this much sugar, drinking all the Kool-Aid, convince themselves that it's good. Now, there's some other stuff she says. I'm not even going to go through all this because it's going to just make me upset and make you upset. So I'm going to go to the important part. She says 2 Democrats have endorsed him. 2 Democrats who endorsed him. Representative Tulsi Gabbard and the spirituality Arthur Marion Williamson, both of them fantastic. They're also running for president. Jeff Merkley, the only senator to have endorsed Bernie Sanders back in the day, is also weighing in on the bid. I don't think he'll do it, though. He can't even count on support of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who worked as an organizer in his campaign, but has said she is unlikely to endorse anyone in the 2020 race. When it comes to policy, it seems Mr. Sanders is a victim of his own success. Really, people? Really? I just want to go ahead and clarify some things. This is what happens when you drink your own Kool-Aid. You start ignoring the facts that are clearly ignored in this article, probably by design, because they want to convince you these facts are true. So ironically enough, in the last article, they said AOC representative from New York. Funny enough, this article is written in the New York Times. What does that article statement, AOC, the name for the New York Times, and Bernie Sanders all have in common? Oh, right. They're all from New York. There are a couple of things that go along with that. One being, you tend to endorse the person that represents your ideology and is running in your state. You tend to do that from time to time. That's just what history has shown us. Now, some people will say, well, maybe she wants to stay out of it like Barbara Lee did, last election, like Elizabeth Warren did for the most of the last election. Maybe they want to stay out of it. Yeah, here's the thing about that. Barbara Lee or Elizabeth Warren in Justice Democrats, who, by the way, you think the JDs aren't going to ask her to, just off of, they have their own thing going on where they need the promotion, they need the marketing, they can't mess this up. So even though the JDs will endorse Bernie Sanders, clearly, they need AOC, the face of the JDs, to do the same. Understand that. So there's that. So and she does kind of sometimes when it comes to, if the JDs tell her to do something, a lot of the times she will do it. What does Bernie Sanders and AOC also have in common? You ever heard of this organization called Our Revolution, ran by Nina Turner, who also, weirdly enough, likes, Bernie Sanders, and even likes him so much that she's national chair of his campaign. One of the three. You know who endorsed AOC? That little organization that belongs to the national chair of Bernie Sanders' campaign, that organization that Bernie Sanders himself created. That's two. Also, if I recall, all those people that Our Revolution endorsed, didn't Bernie Sanders and AOC actually travel the country together to go stump for and endorse because they knew that combined their endorsements would actually make some noise? Yes. And more than anything else, all right? I feel like this is, I don't even know I have to do a video about the common sense this requires. And it's not even that much that it requires. But apparently we have to do videos about like the straight dumbassity of the Democratic Party. See, they think there's some slick pullers. But no, you can't dictate the narrative anymore. The facts are too abundant. But if all of that is untrue, if you really think that all of those things are nominal, if they don't affect the election, which would be weird because that would be outside of the facts that political history has presented to us. It just doesn't make any sense. You part of the same organizations, you endorse each other. Now, the worst thing you can do as a progressive, which I'm sure AOC will know this, is to sit out when another progressive needs you. Once again, being that AOC worked in the 2016 presidential campaign for Bernie Sanders, I think she knows this very well. That's an intelligent young lady. Do you think that AOC wants her popularity to diminish? Does she want her word to diminish? Why do you think she has this mandate? Don't you think she wants her policies to be pushed? Don't you think that Medicare for all, what she harshly advocates for, holding Wall Street accountable, what she strongly advocates for, anti-war, Green New Deal, all these things that could potentially be pipe dreams in a sense, potentially, all become possible. And your mandate that you have been working on for the last year and some change, and at that time it'll be about 2 years, this voice, this power that you have been gathering, you use all of it to endorse Bernie Sanders right before the New York primary and destroy any possibility of any other person that isn't a progressive to have a chance. Why? Because New York it'll go to Bernie Sanders. She knows that. Like, it's his state. There's no one else left there to combat him there. Like it's his. He already won upstate New York. They were cheated in the cities. We all know it. You should go look up my Board of Elections video where I remind them that they work for us if you have not. But she also knows that if she does not endorse Bernie Sanders, the love and the fame is gone. And that's not a threat or anything like that. I'm just speaking because I know you see these, you watch enough political history as closely as independent commentators are forced to do, you start to see things. You don't have to, once again, don't take my word for it. How much money did Elizabeth Warren raise on her first 24 hours? $300,000. Do you think she would have raised a little bit more if she didn't screw Bernie Sanders over? Probably. There's a chance that Barbara Lee might be being a primary because of this nonsense she pulled with Kamala Harris. She's lost much of her support. She knows, AOC's smart. She knows this. That's why I'm saying, because she knows this, because she knows everything I just told y'all, just because she plays your game on camera so you can't use her voice to be divisive, doesn't mean she doesn't have common sense. If I was her, I would get tired of people trying to use my voice to divide instead of trying to use my voice to uplift. Because that's what the media tries to do. They want her to stumble. They want her to slip. So that they can say, ooh, she wants Bernie Sanders instead of y'all, or instead of the candidate that you all picked. Therefore, don't endorse her legislation. Don't vote for her don't vote for her legislation. Don't let her legislation get out of committee. That's what they're trying to do. So it was like a no-win situation. They were going to say that, or they were going to try to push this narrative. AOC isn't going to endorse Bernie Sanders. Okay, good luck with that. Like I said, whatever is in that pipe dream that the Democrats are smoking and the little journalist friends, it must be some fire. It must be that Kamala Harris see 3 years into the future and hear the music of artists that haven't been invented yet. Fire. Okay? Come on. AOC is going to endorse Bernie Sanders. And y'all just going to have to get over it. Hold this L. Thanks for watching that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. You can donate to our Patreon and keep helping the network grow by clicking on the link in the description below. And also, make sure you join us at JustNForm.com. And finally, make sure you subscribe to us on Roku and be part of the very first independent news network on Roku TV. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace.